the state of filmmaking in 2024. Well, not Hollywood filmmaking, obviously, but you and me and all the people out there in the world that are super famous and successful that are trying to make a living out of this business. And that's what I want to talk about today. What I really want to talk about is the message that's being spread out, in YouTube, Facebook, and all those places. And my cat is contributing to this message. It's a problem. It's a big problem because it's disabling people instead of enabling people to actually do what they want. And when I say filmmaking, I mean narrative filmmaking. I don't mean wedding videography. I don't mean music videos. I don't mean anything like that. I'm specifically talking about making movies, making films. That's where the problem is. I'd say that in the past 10 years, the camera development or the differences between camera models and even camera brands is redundant. It's the differences between cameras these days are negligible. The next new thing comes out and you take a look at it, oh, it has this and that. But in reality, it's not really making that much of a difference. And because it's not that much of a difference, people are obsessing with the most, insane things like the body, the shape of the body of the camera, or dynamic range. Not that dynamic range isn't important. It certainly is, but it's not. It doesn't make or break your film. How often do you actually need 15 stops of dynamic range in one shot? Even if you do, it's just going to be once in a blue moon where you actually need that, and you can, certainly work around it if you don't have all those stops of dynamic range. But I don't want to get into specific details because that's not what this video is about. This video is about a mindset that I feel is wrong, and it's plaguing the community of filmmaking all over the world. I see posts all the time and comments of people saying, can I shoot a movie with this camera or that camera? Can I shoot a feature film with this camera, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, in the past 10 years, as I've said before, you can make a movie with pretty much 99% of all the cameras that have been released in the past 10 years, even more, maybe 15 years. But let's be conservative. Let's say 10 years. You can make anything with any camera these days, and I guess that's the main point of this video. I don't want this to turn into a gear doesn't matter video. Of course, gear matters. Gear is there to help you, but if you do not have the money, if you don't have the budget to get all the best gear that you want, that shouldn't stop you from creating. Because I feel that people are so restricted by specs and this and that, and it's reinforced daily on YouTube and blah, 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 and Facebook especially. It's just every other post is people talking about, this camera, I can't use this camera because this and that. It just breaks my heart to see so many people disabled, and I think I like that term more and more, disabled by this mentality that you can't actually produce anything because of a camera, because it doesn't do this or that, because it doesn't have autofocus or whatever that you think you need but you don't. Actually, manually focusing is an art, and it's something that every aspiring filmmaker should try to craft and master, the craft I mean, because it's always useful to know how to manually focus, and in the professional world nobody even mentions autofocus. I'm sure in the future it might change. I sincerely doubt that it will change a lot, but I'm sure autofocus will find a way into the professional market in the next 10 years, but not in the way that it's going to be set the camera and just roll and let the camera make all the decisions, because focusing is art, and it's a creative decision. It's not about mathematics. It's not about nailing the focus here and there. It's a creative decision, and that's very important to master. So get that out of the way. If you're not buying a camera because it doesn't have autofocus, then your mindset is completely wrong, and you should just reset your brain and start over. I made a whole video about how I started filmmaking in the 90s during my teenage years, and back then the cameras that I use were absolutely god awful by today's standards, and even by then they weren't that good, because back in the 90s you didn't have, you know, professional quality or broadcast quality cameras to the public, unless you actually you know, paid a lot of money for a professional camera. These days it's different, and that's why making videos like this is more and more important, because the gap between the professional world and the amateur, so to speak, is growing smaller and smaller and smaller. And as I've said in numerous videos, there is absolutely no excuse for you not to be making what you want to make. And I think the community needs to stop and slow down and actually make something, and actually make films, because I see a lot of people talking, I see a lot of comments here and there, this and that, this footage is unusable, this and that, and it's just, it again breaks my heart, because that's really not the point of the camera. And the other problem I feel is that most of the people that are complaining about specs and cameras that they can't buy because it's unusable or because of this and that haven't even done anything, you know, remotely resembling a film or short film or even a feature film. That's even more far-fetched. So it just saddens me that so many people follow these comments and this mindset of obsessing over the camera, obsessing over the specs, and not actually doing anything with what you have. And I feel videos like these are important to try and stop this trend of specs and camera bodies, and it needs to be square and it needs to have this and that. It's just, it doesn't. It can shoot. Most cameras, as I said, 99% of cameras these days have amazing quality. And if you know how to light, if you know how to capture sound, if you know how to write, the camera is the least of your problems when creating a film. It's going to be the least important thing while creating a film, because, as I said, the difference these days between cameras is negligible. I'm still using my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K, the original one from 5 years ago, and I do not feel the need to upgrade, because it does the job that it needs to do. The image quality is amazing, and honestly I haven't even outputted any project in 6K. The most I've exported is 4K on YouTube and 1080 or 2K for other mediums. As you might know, in the professional world, cinema projectors, where you go to a theater and watch a film, most theater projectors are projecting in 2K. It's not even 4K, and this is 2024. So this comes to the resolution problem that we're facing, is people think that we need 17K, 12K, 8K. You don't need anything of that sort. It's good to have, again, if you have the money, if you have the means to get all those big cameras and stuff, by all means do it. But do not make it a necessity, because it's not. Resolution is not a necessity. Knowing lighting is a necessity, knowing composition and so forth, and all the filmmaking traits one needs to have in order to make a good film. Those are the things that people need to be focusing on instead of the camera. And I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, but I just, you know, kept putting it off. But the other day I saw another post for the 10th billionth time about someone saying, can I shoot a feature film with this camera? I have this script and blah blah blah. And I was expecting in the comments for someone to say, dude, you can shoot the whatever camera you have. If your script is good, if you have good actors, it's gonna work. You don't need the latest and greatest camera. And to really make my point, I'm shooting this entire talking head video with a 12-year-old, but with a camera from 2012, the Canon 650D, using Magic Lantern crop mode. People who follow my channel are aware that I like to use crop mode a lot. It's kind of a hobby of mine. I do not use it in a professional setting because of its instability and the lack of some features that I need. But if it was the only thing I had, I would definitely use it and make it work, because it was the only thing I could afford and have. And that is very important. But fortunately, I could get another camera. I have the 6K, and I have also a 90D for photography, which I also use for YouTube. But in this video, I really wanted to make a point of using the worst camera I have, which is a camera from 2012. Yes, 12 years ago. I was correct the first time. So yeah, 12 years ago, and this is the shot that I'm getting in 2024 with that camera, with this Canon 650D again, with the Magic Lantern hack, using crop mode, which is the latest update to the Magic Lantern world. And yeah, and I think this image works perfectly fine, and I'm sure you wouldn't be able to tell if I didn't tell you that I was shooting with an old camera. And I hope that my point has come across by using this older camera and presenting you with a decent, hopefully decent shot, that you can understand that you don't need the latest and greatest camera to make a film. You don't need the latest and greatest this and that. You just need a camera. You need to be creative, have a good script, have good actors, have good lighting, a good director of photography, someone to really, or even yourself, learn how to do that. And that's really all you need. So that is the biggest point that I want to make with this video. And I know I'm repeating myself very much because I really didn't script this. I'm just kind of winging it because I didn't want to come across as robotic or, you know, formulaic. I wanted to be as spontaneous as I could be. And yeah, gear doesn't matter. It does, but it really doesn't, you know. These days, you can do a lot with very little. You can do a lot with very little. And I hope that some of you have made it this far into the video that really feel the need to change that mindset, the need to stop obsessing, and the need to stop upgrading every year. Every time a new camera comes out, oh my God, this one has 8K, oh this one has 12K, oh my God, this one has this, or this one has that, I'm gonna have to upgrade, oh my God, I'm gonna sell mine. Just as I see every time Blackmagic releases a new camera, then sure enough, the following days we got tons of posts of people selling their current camera. And it just saddens me because, as I said before, most of these people aren't even doing anything with the cameras. They're just wanting to have the camera, but they're not using it. And some people and other people who don't have the money really wanted to use a camera and can't because they don't have the money. But you can. You know, the Canon 650D goes in the second-hand market for less than $200. The Magic Lantern software is free. So there is really no excuses for someone who really wants to make films to not be making them. You can get a startup kit for filmmaking with lights and microphones and camera and lenses under $1,000 or even less if you actually stretch your budget as much as you can. It is money, of course, but it's not, you know, $10,000, $15,000 or $50,000 cameras or $100,000 cameras and so forth. So there it is, guys. Make films, be creative. Leave the specs behind, pick up the camera and tell a story. That is the most important thing if you want to be a filmmaker. And if you want, you can check out the video I made about me learning filmmaking back in the 90s, because that's a really important story, because I had no gear, I had nothing, and I still managed to win awards and make films. Obviously not great films, but I did make them, and it helped shape the professional that I am today. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. All the gear that I'm using in this video will be listed in the description below. Those are affiliate links. If you do use those links, you'll be helping the channel and helping me bring more content to you guys. If you enjoyed this video, also subscribe, put a like, and all that jazz. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you, and goodbye. Okay, let's just hope this goes well.